Tech by Tips.
Hello and welcome to another Tech by Tips video. Today's video is going to be based on a video request that has been quite a while in the queue, so I'm really sorry that I took this long to come up with this video. This request comes from Saberwolf, and it's basically a double request here. So it says, if I may put in a request, can you do a guide on setting up Subsyncarr or Bazaar Sync? It is a tool for bulk syncing already existing subtitles. I only noticed the automatic sync option in Bazaar far too late, and Bazaar does not let you sync existing subs in bulk. So we're going to be doing part of this request, which is going to be the request for Subsyncarr in this video. So let's go ahead and go to the official repository so we can see what this application is about, and then we can get an idea of what we're going to be deploying in here. So Subsyncarr can be found in github.com/johnpc/Subsyncarr, and this application is already on release number 22, version 1.4.0. And if we read here, it's mainly a TypeScript application with a little bit of JavaScript for the user interface. And if we scroll down, then we'll see details here that tells us that this is an automated subtitle synchronization tool that runs as a Docker container, and it continually monitors your media folders for video files that have subtitles that are out of sync, and then automatically synchronizes them using 3 different engines. And it talks about the FF Subsync, Auto Subsync, and Alas engines. And then they give you the link to the official Docker image, and then basically gives you a little bit of a highlight of the features of the application. So basically it's automated. It can scan your library and make sure everything is up to date. It has multiple sync engines, like we said before, 3 of those. And that's so that you can, like, sometimes one or the others might give you a better result. So you have 3 options, so you can pick whichever you want. And it has scheduled processing, so it can run on a schedule. And it can do parallel processing, so if you have the resources, you can assign it more resources to then process several files at the same time. And it is able to track what it has synchronized previously, and then it doesn't process those again. It keeps a processing history so you can watch what is done. And it has a dashboard where you can configure the application and view the settings and all that. It has the timeouts that you can configure, it has logs that you can manage, and it is non-destructive, meaning that it's not going to affect the original subtitle files that you have. It's just going to create new subtitles that's going to put them right next to the existing one. So that is good if you're afraid that it might do something that you already had a good subtitle or something. It's not going to mess it up. And then they give us a Docker Compose example here. I have taken this Docker Compose file and I've tweaked it a little bit to work on our Synology NAS as an example, but it should work basically the same anywhere that you run it. And then there's a lot of extra information here about what the configurations are and all that, but I'm just gonna basically go over that when we look at the Docker Compose. There's a lot of documentation here that is pretty good. They have a lot of stuff in here, so just be aware of that. If you want to learn more how it works, just come to the repo and read up about it. Now, let's go into the NAS, and the first thing that we're going to be doing here is we're going to discuss what the folder structure is going to be like. In my case, if you've been following my series, in the Synology NAS, when you create the container manager, when you install it, it creates the Docker folder. Inside that, I have a folder for the container data and another one for the Docker Compose files. So for the containers, I'm going to create a folder here named Subsyncarr, and in there, there's going to be nothing. This is going to be where the application stores its data, like its configuration and all that stuff. And then for the projects, we have another Subsyncarr folder here to have the Docker Compose file. That's all that we need in the Docker folder. Now, since we're going to be working on media files that we have in our library, following my previous guides, we're going to be having the HTPC share. In that share, we're going to have the media directory, and in there, you're going to have the different folders for the stuff that you have. So we're probably going to be more interested in the anime folder if you're downloading anime, the movies if you're downloading movies, and the TV if you're downloading TV series. For the sake of the video, I'm going to be putting an episode of a TV series, and then I'm going to put one subtitle that I know is out of sync because I moved it up ahead of time for 1 second, so it's not properly synchronized. And yeah, that's what we need. So we're going to have to get those paths to those folders so that then we can configure this. So now that we have the folders that we need here, we can go into Container Manager and create a new project, which I'm going to create with the name Subsyncarr. And then I'm going to look for the path to the Docker Compose. So it's going to be in Projects, Subsyncarr. And then I'm going to say I'm going to create a Docker Compose. I already have it here, so I'm going to paste it, and then we're going to take a look at it after we save this. So now we go Subsyncarr and we look at the YAML compose. And this is what we're going to be deploying. This is going to be in the reference guide available for you in my GitHub repository. So be aware of that. It's going to be available there. So we have one container that we're going to be deploying. It's the Subsyncarr service with the latest version of the Subsyncarr image. And we're going to name it Subsyncarr. Now for the environment variables, we have a few things here. The first one is our time zone. In my case, that's America, New York, so that's what I put in there. And then for the user, this is important that you need to put a user ID and a group ID in your Synology NAS that you have given permission to read and write to the different folders that we have here. So make sure that that user ID and group ID has permissions. The next thing is where you would specify the schedule where you want to run. So here is configured to run every night at midnight. So I left it as it is. That's fine for me. And then in here, we have a list of the different paths inside the container that we want to scan. Like I said, we're interested in anime, movies, and TV, so that's why I have that in there. And be aware that it is exactly the names of the folders in the container, meaning the right side of the volumes. The next thing that we have is how many. There's an optional variable here that I don't have enabled, but you can here exclude specific folders. Like let's say you have movies and then you have some specific folders inside there that you don't want it to process. You can put it in here, but I don't have it, so that's why it's commented out. Now in here you specify how many jobs you want to run at the same time. I'm gonna do one. I think that's more than enough. But if you like really have a huge library, you would probably benefit from increasing this number a little bit. And then in here you can tell it which engines you wanted to use, and this is a list. So if you decide that there is one that you like the most, you can remove the other two and leave only one. Or if you leave the three, it's going to generate 3 different subtitles with the 3 different names for the engines that it uses. Now, the application in the container by default is on port 3000. So we're going to expose it also on port 3000 on the NAS. You can put whatever you want here. Remember, the left side is the NAS, the right side is the container. So whatever you put on the left is how you access it on the NAS. Let me make sure that I have that in here also for the volumes. In the volumes, we have the Subsyncarr folder where we're going to store configuration and our data for the application that is going to be in the app data folder in the container. And then we have the anime folder, the movies folder, and the TV folder that we have for our media that is going to be mapped in the container to anime, movie, and TVs. And if you want to specify restrictions in the resources that the container uses, uncomment this and specify that. For now, I just left it there, but I'm not going to use it. And then we're going to start this container unless we manually come here and stop it. So pretty straightforward, one container, minimal configuration, but it should be working for us. So now when we save this and we build it, in my case it's going to be really fast because I already have the image. So exit code 0 and we got the pop-up here, so we are good. Now we should be able to go to the containers and look at the logs, and then when we see that it says that it's available, then we should be able to access it on the IP of the NAS and then port 3000 because that's what I left it as. If you changed it, use whatever port you specified in there. And it says it's doing a database setup, but this is a SQLite database. So if we come here, we should see now that it has in the containers Subsyncarr, we have the database file here, and it has the folder for the logs. So you see it's writing properly to this folder. Perfect. So now we should be able to go to the IP of the NAS, port 3000, and here we go. This is the user interface for the application. And as you can see, it tells us here that it's watching the 3 folders that we specified. when it's going to run again. In my case, it says it's going to be in 1 hour. And in here we have two buttons where we can specify for a specific path or folder to scan, and then to start a run. Basically, at this point, since this just works perfectly when I tested it, you don't really have to honestly worry about using this folder unless you're looking for something specific that you want to process in one go. So it will just be a matter of letting it run on its timer, or just come here and select start full run. But first, before I press here, you see here a history of the runs that it has done, and down here too. So as you can see, the user interface is pretty simple. It's just basically like a dashboard that lets you know what happened. There's not a lot that you do here. But let me show you what we have in here. So I have in the lab NAS put in the TV folder the Wednesday series season 1 episode 1, and then I have this subtitle that, like I mentioned, I have unsynced myself. I made sure that it's not properly synced, and then we're gonna run this, and then we're gonna see if it works or not. So if we come here and we click on start full run, we'll see that now if we look at the logs, it's gonna start processing the file that it found in there. And if we come here, we'll see that this bar is going to slowly populate and give us an update, and it's telling us like what it's going to do. Right now it's going to work on the first engine, which is FF Subsync, and when it's done with that one, it's going to work on the other engine, and then on the other engine. You see, now it's auto subsync because I enabled the 3 engines, but you can see it already checked FF Subsync. So if I go back here and I refresh, I already have FF Subsync here. So that's a synced subtitle using that specific engine. So let's wait a little bit until it completes the other engines that are running on this file. Should be relatively fast, not more than a couple of minutes. So we should see that as this complete, more subtitles end up showing in the folder. Let me pause and come back when it is moving forward. Alright, it's completed the auto sub sync, so we should be able to come here and see an extra file. There we go. So looking pretty good so far. We're down to the last engine, so we'll give it a little bit of time and come back when that is done, and we'll see how this interface updates. Alright, it has completed, and as you can see, it also finished the alias. So if I come here and update, we'll also have alias in here. So perfect, we have 3 variants of the subtitle with 3 different engines. This is the original that is out of sync. So once you find the one that you like the most out of here, you can come here and clean it up, get rid of the other ones, and that should be fine for you. Or if you think one specific engine works better than the others, then you can just leave one enabled, and then it's easier to clean up. So now the user interface here shows us it processed this file, and it did the 3 different engines, and then we can see here the results. It took 93 seconds to do the processing, and it shows us the different engines that it used in here. So 1 means that it was used, so true, and here it tells us how many files were processed, what's the status, so it was completed successfully. It tells us when it ran, and we can see here that it was completed. And then if it skips a file, then it's gonna say it here also. If it fails, it's gonna say it here also. And then you can see the logs here that tells us what it did. So as you can see, you know, it started processing with the 3 different engines, and it completed the first one, the second one, and the third one, and then it marked it as complete. So very straight up, very straightforward application, but it is very, very useful because I have found that it does a very good job of synchronizing the subtitles. So this is good to add to your suite of R's because especially now with OpenSubtitles.org making it more difficult to pull subtitles automatically, you know, this is a good way to fix that problem. If you don't have Subgen generating them, or if it downloads it with Bazaar from somewhere, then it can fix those problems if it finds that there are problems. So pretty good, simple application. Highly recommended to add it to your suite. We're going to be doing another video on the other requests from this video request. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, leave me a comment in the comment section below, because as you can see, all of the videos come from video requests, And I also try to help you out in the comment section if you are having difficulties or anything you want to talk about. So be aware that that is there. You should have also noticed that there was no ad on my video because I'm not monetizing the YouTube channel, and that's on purpose. But that means that there's no revenue for me for the effort that I put into making these videos. So if you like the content and you want to support me, feel free to go to the description box below where there's a link to PayPal to donate if you prefer to do it that way, or with a Bitcoin wallet address if you like to do it that other way. So that's going to be it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.